Germany, like any other major European power in the 1900s, had colonies. Unlike the big dogs Europe like Great Britain and France, Germany was the new player in the 4D chess game that is the European continent in the late 1800s, only coming into existence in 1871. Germany tried to become one of the major European powers in the European continents, and one way of doing so was through gaining colonies. And that opportunity came when the Berlin Conference was held in 1884, in which Africa was to be partitioned amongst the European nations that were willing and were capable of controlling parts of the continent. And as you may know, Germany didn't get so much in the colonial game, as the colonial possessions were not so much that they could rival that of France, and not so little to be in the same train with Spain's fallen off empire. And yeah, the colonies that Germany snagged were Cameroon, Togo, Namibia, Tanzania, or at the time Tanganyika, and the islands near Tanganyika like Zanzibar, Pemba, Mafia, and the rest. And yeah, today we're going to talk about Tanganyika, and more so we're going to talk about one of the dumbest battles ever fought in colonial history. And that is going to be the Maji Maji Rebellion of 1905 to 1907. Tanganyika, 1905. The German colony of Tanganyika at the time was controlled by Governor Reich Kommissar Gustav Adolf von Gotzen, and at the time, Tanganyika was not really a great colony for many Germans, to say the least, as one political scientist by the name Rainer Tetzlaff of the Europa College of the University of Hamburg said,
"The German East Africa colony never achieved any real significance for the German Empire, neither as a colony for the settlement of emigrants, nor as a supplier of raw materials, nor as a market for exports."
And with that, you get the idea of what the colony was. It was basically like the Wyoming of the German Empire, of what I can say, and what I can understand as a YouTuber. And yeah, not really important, mostly arid land with most of the population being local subsistence crop farmers, with traders who normally resided on the coast who came from regions such as the Arab Peninsula and the local inhabitants of the region. And with that, the local German colonial government thought, what can I do to make this dumb fuckery of a place to be a profitable colony that could get some considerable prominence and wealth in the Reich?
Traders, rattlesnakes and alligators, right away, come away, right away, come away.
Wait a minute. So yeah, the colonial government of Tanganyika would later come up with the idea of setting up mandatory cotton quotas in villages all over the colony to be able to finance the colony as a main export product. And by the way, fun fact, this was a very common strategy among European colonial possessions in Africa. Like for example, British colonialists in British East Africa, now Kenya, also had the idea of making a plantocracy similar to the American South back in the era of slavery in the United States. Of course, with this decision, many Africans, more so from the south of Tanganyika, gave Gustav the big old middle finger and told him, "Fuck you bro, we already have too many problems to deal with your sauerkraut dinguses in charge." Which was quite understandable, especially by the fact that beforehand the German colonial government of Tanganyika was not really nice when it came to the African population, often imposing forced labor and harsh taxation to keep the people working in European farms, and just basically turning the whole region into a beta version of a feudal kingdom. Not to mention the fact that in 1905 a severe drought was taking place in the region, which destroyed the locals' food supply. Punishments would include these, which I would not say because it might take a long time to actively talk about them, but yeah, you get the idea. If you don't do the stuff that was required from you, you would get one of these, but hey, I digress. So as a response to the various hardships they had to undergo, the tribes of the south of Tanganyika would start an uprising in July of 1905, and this uprising would later become known as the Maji Maji Rebellion. Now you might be asking, what is the term Maji Maji? Well, from the word Maji Maji, there's the word Maji. And the word Maji in Swahili is water. And the reason why it's called Water Rebellion is all stemming from a guy by the name Kijikitile Gwale. Kijikitile Gwale, or Gwale, I bet I butchered that shit to live in hell from saying that, was a local spiritual medium from the Matumbi tribe that currently inhabits the Lindi region of modern-day Tanzania. This village medium would later start the idea of fighting the Germans with water armor. And yeah, this is how the story goes. One day, Gwale disappeared from his home village, and after a few days, he came back saying that he was possessed by some snake god named Hongo and communicated to the local deity by the name Bukera. Yeah, African stories, not gonna lie. I was going to animate my interpretation of the sequence of events that happened, but it took too much time, and also it was way too complex to even begin with, because one, what the hell am I supposed to even, where's the reference to these gods? Like, yeah, how do they even look like? But yeah, imagine what their interaction between them, and think how could this story really be believable to the populace at the time. That was basically the story. This random tribal herbalist met with some local deity and told people to fight an occupying force with some crazy belief, which, to be honest, is not so much of a batshit insane idea if you think about it, if you're put in the shoes of the people at the time over there in the region, as many parts of the world had such instances and incidents of some weird belief trying to offer some solution to a common problem, and people believed it. But yeah, all in all, we really can't blame them for really believing this, as they were just basically farmers who just wanted to live their normal lives. So yeah, you might be thinking they would actually get rid of the Germans after going with whatever the shits Gwale was talking about, because hey, he was approved by God, right? Oh boy, you forgot that we live in reality, bruv. And also, this is the early 20th century, so this is reality times 25, so it's an absolute no. So yeah, the holy water. What was its composition? Well, the holy water, or the war medicine, was basically water mixed with castor oil mixed with millet seeds. And with this concoction, they would still fight the Germans with their old Iron Age weapons, which, not gonna lie, if you think about it, it was probably Bokera, their god, tripping the hell out, because, not gonna lie, I bet he wanted to make this shit up for the lols or something. But yeah, now into the war. So the rebellion didn't really go unnoticed to the Germans, which prompted them to arrest many different leaders of the uprising, one of them being good old Gwale. And this, to many tribesmen in the rebellion, led them to resort to hit-and-run tactics to 1. Give out a decisive fast blow on German outposts, and 2. To quickly implement their attacks and tactics before the Germans could act, as intel was leaking out to the Germans by the local askari regiments in the area. During the course of the rebellion, the tribesmen attacked cotton plantations, police outposts, and trading centers around the south. They would normally encounter attacks from mostly mercenaries paid by the local German colonial governments, most of them being the locals and pretty much anyone who vibed with the German colonial government at the time, or just basically the loyalists. And yeah, one big advantage that the tribesmen had over the Germans was the use of sheer manpower, as they could normally outnumber the colonial forces by wide margins. And although they had the numbers, they lacked the coordination needed to consolidate a full victory, as tribes would normally disagree on ways to attack the Germans that would later lead to the uprising becoming very unorganized and just being a complete definition of a clusterfuck. And yeah, during the course of the war, Adolf von Gotzen would later contact the Kaiser back in Germany to request for reinforcements. The Kaiser, as a result, sent about 1,000 regular soldiers to the colony in 2 cruisers to squash the rebellion. The Germans later adopted scorched-earth policy tactics to completely kill off the rebels' food supply and livelihoods to force a quick surrender among the rebel factions in the area. And then, in August 1907, the rebellion was finally over. The people soon realized that the water potion was absolute dog shit, and soon considered defeat. This would result in 15 Germans, 73 Askaris, 316 local police, or in the traditional sense, the Ruga, that's what they used to be called, to lose their lives during the course of the war. Oh, you might be asking, what was the death toll of the rebels? Well, guess what? Yeah, it wasn't about 10. Yeah, it was about 10. Guess what? Not even 10. It was not. It was probably 10 to 100 freaking thousand insurgent and civilian casualties. Yeah, that's right. The rebellion was so much of a KD ratio to the rebels that even today most historians describe the actions committed by the Germans as genocidal. But yeah, the war would later lead to a large famine in the region that would later oof an extra few people, which was a result of the Germans' use of scorched-earth policy tactics, and as a result led to many people becoming homeless, broke as literal hell, since all their stuff was either burnt down by the Germans or ransacked by the rebels. The war was so bad that John Gunther wrote in 1953 that
even today the southern province of Tanganyika, the Cinderella province, has not fully recovered from the German terror half a century ago.
Yeah. I was also going to talk about the small nitbits of the war, such as the Battle of Mahanga, the attack on the town of Ipakara, and even the generals involved in the war, but I found it quite redundant and will probably make this video a whole like 10-15 minutes or something, or even like 20 minutes maybe, on a topic that I literally had to translate from the German Wikipedia page or some shit like that. And yeah, one of the generals from the war, which I'm not gonna say because 1, what the fuck is this? And yeah, who would later become the lead officer of the Stalag Luft. I'm just going to use
Stalag Luft 3.
who would later become the lead officer of the Stalag Luft 3, which was famously known for the Great Escape of 1944, which if you know him and the entire events of the Great Escape, then feel free to leave it in the comments if you want. And yeah, but anyway, that was the Maji Maji Rebellion. Pretty much a troll moment, to be honest, but either way, what the hell, why not? So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know this is going to be sounding redundant because my channel is basically a fall off compared to how it used to be. But lately I have been trying to find out a new content strategy for myself to implement that would both be beneficial for the algorithm, the audience, and myself most importantly, because finding internet drama like how I used to make videos can be pretty much a very monotonous topic and also nerve-wracking and kind of boring to say the least. And yeah, but anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe if you like this new kind of content which I'm going to be planning to do. And yeah, if you dislike it if you want. And yeah, that's pretty much me. Goodbye.